are boys and girls, cats and dogs. We are an inclusive channel here. And look who we have with us. We have Granny D. What a big girl. Yay. Most of you probably know this already, but Granny D and I went to the same college at the same time and didn't know each other. And it was a very small college, but we still didn't know each other. We even have friends in common and didn't know each other.
Hey, do you know I ran into one of those friends, Barbara Hoover?
I love Barbara. How is she?
She's doing fine. I ran into her at the post office and she had blonde hair and I didn't know who she was. And she had a mask on.
Oh, of course,
And
yeah.
I was
But
talking to one of my church buddies and she knew him too. Well, she called both of our names and was just chatting away. And so I'm chatting away like I knew who she was, but had no idea. And so as she's walking away, I said, Tim, who is that? And she heard me. I guess I don't whisper very slowly. And she said, D. Thompson, it's Barbara Hoover. I said, well, I didn't know you with blonde hair and a mask. But yet we didn't talk to her. She
Barbara
is
was
teaching again.
Yes, she had retired, hadn't she?
And now she's at
she
Faith
went back
Charter
to it.
School.
Honestly, I have met a lot of teachers who went back to teaching because they said they missed what they called their kid fix. They
But
needed
you know
the
what?
kids.
That kid fix, it was so stressful. Who'd ever thought teaching fourth grade would be stressful? But David.
Oh, my mother taught for
Stress
about, my mother taught for about 400 years. I witnessed the stress.
Well, it did me in, so I didn't quite get my 30 in. I got 27.89 years. 12 of those were middle school. That was my first tour of duty.
My
and
mother.
I call that my tour of duty in Vietnam, middle school age children.
Oh, dear Lord.
And they were in Salisbury, which is like city kids for us.
Oh, yeah, Salisbury, yeah.
And they were raising kids or grandparents raising kids, and it was rough.
I saw a video about the worst places to move in North Carolina if you're going to move into the state, and Salisbury was on the list. But
Spencer should have been on there too. Or East Spencer. Oh my goodness.
Albemarle was also on the list, actually. And the predictable communities that have a lot of poverty and not much job growth going on.
Very pitiful.
But my mother taught. We lived when I was a kid. I was born in Delaware. Then we moved to Minnesota. Then we went back to North Carolina. Then, when I was in school, they got transferred again to Florida, and then back to Delaware.
What did your dad do?
Well, various things. Corporate transfers moved us to Minnesota, and then in Minnesota, he started working for the USDA. And then he was able to request a transfer back to North Carolina. And then through the USDA, he also went to Florida and then back to Delaware. I think by the time that they had moved to Delaware, my mom had stopped teaching. I don't know. I'm sure I don't even know if with the various states that they would have counted all 30 years, but she started teaching in 1956. But
back in the good old days.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a 59 model, so I wasn't around then. But I love, when I watch TV, I'm usually watching old black and white movies in the 50s and the 50s are some of my. When I'm looking down, that's what I'm working on, y'all.
Oh, I've got a project too. The other day, my sister was at Michael's and she saw these Ogo
I wasn't
things.
going to get any, but I did get two.
Well, there were two. They were on sale at Michael's. Apparently, buy one get one half price.
Hmm.
But even at that price, it's like 1,000 yards for $18. That's not a
It's
bargain
no.
for like Karen cake yarn.
Hmm.
Um, but
Gimmick.
anyway, yeah, I'm working through one of those to make a scarf right now. And if it's not enough to make a scarf, I will be a little bit upset. But
Oh,
anyway, yeah. So, so we both went to Pfeiffer College. Hail Pfeiffer College.
I don't even remember the song. And, probably one reason we didn't know each other was that I was a day student. So I just kind of came and went. And plus, I was an education major and you were in music. So, you know,
yeah.
anytime.
I was, yeah, I was a residential student, which nearly everybody was because it was so isolated. Um, and you were a day student because you were nearby.
Well,
Um,
and I was pregnant my first semester. I was big woman on campus.
well, I was
And
pretty
had
big
been
too,
living the
but not because I
wildlife,
was
so I
pregnant.
moved in with my parents. So
There you go. Yeah.
uh,
But
it all worked out.
mhm.
I
Oh
laugh
my
and
gosh.
tell Lindsay, my eldest, that
Hmm.
she did her undergrad studies at Pfeiffer, and I told her she had been twice, once in utero, and then
Oh, she went there as a real student.
Mhm.
Oh, great, wonderful.
And then she went to
I
Tulane, 13 hours
Yeah,
away from Mama.
Tulane is a quite respectable university, actually.
Uh-huh.
I
And
tell
she ended
people
up
that.
working there in the hospital lab doing breast cancer research. And she still works with those folks doing
Oh,
that.
that's cool.
Even
That is
though
really
now she's
cool.
at Florida Gulf Coast University. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I tell people that Pfeiffer was a great place to grow up. It wasn't a
And
great place to learn to
she did live
sing.
on campus. She did stay there,
Oh yeah.
even though we
Yeah.
were close. Yeah.
And some of my Pfeiffer friends remain to this day among my closest friends. Um, but yeah, yeah, not a great place to learn to sing. It was a great place for church music and music education.
Hmm.
Um, and music education was my focus when I started there. But by the time I was done, I wanted to perform, and it wasn't a great place for
Yeah.
that. For various reasons that we don't really need to go into. But but still, I do not regret my years at Pfeiffer at all.
Fun times.
Exactly. Um, so anyway, and then you know, who would have thought? Like, oh, when was it? Sometime last year, we met online and discovered that we had that in common, and then it was like instantly fast friends
Yeah.
immediately. Yeah.
And then we got to
Uh,
meet up not that long ago. That was great.
oh, that was fun. I loved when
So
we got to
glad you
meet
came
up.
my
It
way
was
and we could do that.
fun. Yeah. And as you have said before, the food we had that night was great. It
And
was.
my daughter that lives right there, and I was house sitting for her. That was my youngest
Hmm.
daughter, Hannah. She knew right where I was talking about, but she hadn't been there. So we're going to have to go and go back to that yarn shop that I just discovered in the town of Davidson, not the county, but the town of Davidson.
Oh, that's the thing about North Carolina, where there will be a town and a county with the same name, and they'll be
Nowhere
completely
near
different.
each other.
Yeah, exactly. But if you want to, I can make a stop on the way back from my trip to the mountains, and
Sure.
we
I'm
could,
up. I'm game.
because actually my friend in Charlotte I need to see, which means I need to make something for her between now and then,
Is that
which is
Carrie Penny? Miss
no.
Carrie
I
Penny?
want to meet her. I have not
I
met
knew
her
you
yet.
had
I'm
said
talking
that.
about another Pfeiffer friend who
Oh,
lives in Charlotte.
okay.
She used to live in Concord, which would have been so much more convenient. She's so
Yeah.
inconsiderate that way. But now she lives on the south side of Charlotte.
Well, Carrie Penny,
She's
she's not
between
right in Charlotte, is
she's
she?
between Charlotte and Waxhaw.
Yeah.
And I wrote her. I said I know Waxhaw because I come from Union County, so I know Waxhaw. And um, oh my gosh, when I was in high school, I was in a community theater thing where they did it every year. It was sort of like the Lost Colony on the Outer Banks, but
Hmm.
it was a community theater thing that they did every year that had to do with this rivalry between North Carolina and South Carolina, but having to do with, I think, the birthplace of Andrew Jackson.
Yeah.
Um, and there was a lot there. It had a lot to do with peach brandy. And so I became rather fond of peach brandy at that time.
It's like a nice southern drink. Nice southern refreshment.
Of course. Yep. Loves me some iced tea.
I likes hot tea. That's what I'm sipping on now.
I was just on the point of ordering a tea infuser where you would put in the loose tea and
I
pour the
used
hot
to
water
have one. It
in.
was so cute. It was like a little house, and you'd set it on its tray. They got all kind of cutesy ones now.
I had one too, and I think I lost it in the
I lost
divorce.
mine. I think mine's at my ex's or used to be.
Exactly, yeah. I think I lost mine in the divorce. So, but there was a
It was
time
nothing that cost that much. I surely could.
you can
We
get one
have
for
a
less
tea
than
shop
20
in
bucks.
Salisbury now that I haven't visited yet.
Oh, really?
And I went to it's like a chain. There's one in the village at Gatlinburg, and my youngest daughter was telling me that her dad had told her that we had one in Salisbury, and I've not yet been there, so I need to go and get myself an infuser
I need to
and whatever else.
plan.
Yummy loose leaf teas.
So if I we'll have to talk offline about this. I have to plan on something.
Okay.
Because I have to look again at the agenda and see when I'll be leaving the retreat. I think it'll be Sunday, which is the 14th.
Uh-huh.
Um,
So when do you go?
so I'm heading up there on the 10th. I'm going a day early, just for that additional space and time to.
So that's your extra day at the
That's my
beginning.
extra day. And then the program starts on Thursday with people arriving, and then like a dinner and an evening program. And there will be um, I was a little dismayed because almost all of the program, um, all of the classes and programs and workshops are about knitting. And I said, I will facilitate an informal discussion about crochet, just to have that kind of diversity there. And the organizer, who is a friend and someone I have interviewed for my channel before,
I
and a
remember that
perfectly
interview.
lovely guy, and he jumped at the chance, so it's now on the agenda.
Good.
Um, but Anyway, so the program starts on Thursday. I'll be going up on Wednesday to have that extra day to just relax without having a sister nearby.
My brother and I are 4.5 years apart. And he's
But
the elder, and my mama always said, if you'd have been the first one, you'd have been the only one, because I was a terrible baby, terrible kid. Well, probably not terrible kid, but terrible teenager. I was, woo, boy, was I mouthy. I'd have smacked myself. If I'd have been her, I'd have smacked my mouth. I was 16 years old in the front yard smoking a cigarette. Like, of course, Dad had already gone to work. I was, Dad wasn't a harsh man, but I didn't play with Dad. But Ma, she'd come out and say, I guess you think you cool. I am cool.
Maybe that's why we never knew each other, because you were cool and I wasn't.
Oh my gosh. As wild as they come.
And I was taught by my beautiful mother to stay away from wild people.
Well, I wasn't supposed
I even told,
but I did. I would lie like a rug. I'd lie and tell my folks what they wanted to hear, and I'd go out and do what I wanted to do.
Well, that I did.
They had to know. I'd come in smelling like I don't know what, drinking and carrying on.
Well, actually, as a voice major, I was fortunate because early on I learned how damaging that kind of hot smoke is to your vocal apparatus, and especially non-tobacco things, even hotter. Yeah, and I tried some of those things.
I never cared for weed. I was more of a peel gal.
No, I tried pot once or twice and never got anything out of it. Sometimes when I was really drunk, I would smoke cigarettes. I don't think I really got anything out of that either, and I just never saw the benefit of it.
Right.
And cigarettes, they can get expensive.
They really are.
So, and also, not only that, my grandfather was a tobacco farmer and died of lung cancer, even though he never smoked himself. Well, that's the story I tell, but honestly, I think there was also skin cancer and God only knows what else that had been metastasized over time. Yeah. But he died when I was 4. And the other one died before I was born. I was named for both of them, though. Anyway, let's talk about yarn.
Okay. I love yarn talking.
Yep. So I was saying that I'm just now working on something with one of these Ogo things. I'm. There are lots of strong opinions.
Show you the one I have.
Oh.
I have the other one in the other room. It has a mustard color and some other.
So
the very big donut.
Yeah, but each
I
one is only
the one that Walmart's supposed to have, but our Walmart's never has any. Like the rainbow one.
Oh,
I guess it's red.
No, I haven't been to our Walmart recently. Although I have to go tomorrow because Andrea Gwenny Square. She works with an optometrist who goes between the different Walmart locations locally, and she'll be there tomorrow. So I have to go there and see her tomorrow. She's my local yarn buddy, and I love her dearly.
I think that's great. I was going to ask because I saw her picture of Children of the Cornea. I got so tickled. Did she work at that? Did you see that picture?
I think I did, but I tried not to.
Malachi. I thought it was hilarious.
But
I thought it was cute.
yeah, she's tremendous fun, and she is ridiculously generous. She is
I was gonna say
always giving me yarn.
that,
And,
and she won the how great of Crystal to offer one of her fabulous mystery box. I've seen some
oh, I
unboxings
I
of
I
those,
can't
and when Granny
imagine.
Square won, I thought, I bet you she'll share with David.
Well, actually, we've talked about that, and when she gets it, um, we're going to do an unboxing video together.
Cool. I
Um,
saw Tracy of I Love Loopy, and oh man, she got some of Daniel's yarn, bougie yarns. She got some of the Steve yarn and all kinds of good goodies.
I have.
I always miss when Crystal has stuff like that. I hear about it too late.
Do you know, I enter her some of her giveaways, not all of them, because I always say I need more yarn, like I need a hole in the head.
Well,
Um,
that could be said for most all of us.
but it's true.
But it's what we do. I
And
collect
you
yarn.
know, one of our mutual friends who is downsizing her household, and so get destashing some of her yarn. I was on the phone with her earlier today. I'm buying some of her yarn from her at a super duper discount.
Well, of course you are. You should
Um,
see this room. It is
I don't even know what it
ridiculous.
is yet, but it's going to be good stuff.
Yeah, I'm getting where I really like the bougie stuff.
Exactly. My tastes are more expensive, but my budget isn't.
But I've got Knit Crate for years and it's just kind of stacking up. And it's
Mm.
lovely. Oh my gosh. This
I
alpaca.
have so much beautiful yarn that I haven't even caked up yet.
And even the stuff at this is Hobby Lobby. I know you don't care for Hobby Lobby, but they got some gorgeous
I have some nice Hobby Lobby yarn. I will
hand dye.
confess it. And honestly, those kind of social boycotts, I don't know how effective they are. I don't know
I
what kind
just
of a
can't,
point they make.
maybe this isn't the right attitude to take, but I just go for the yarn. I don't really know what some of the policies are and this and that. But like you said, I mean, how much good does it do?
Exactly. Exactly. Even it depends upon. It doesn't even matter that much on which side of the social or political spectrum you're on. Whenever there's a declared boycott, in the end, it really doesn't have much effect
Hmm.
on any particular merchant. Um, although to this day, I still will not eat Chick-fil-A. Um, but that's a separate issue.
I'm not all that
Um,
crazy about Chick-fil-A anyway.
well, like most things, they were better when we were kids.
Hmm.
Um, either that or we just didn't know the difference.
Oh man, I remember as a kid going to A&W, the root beer we had, like I guess it was just called A&W. It was a drive-in place, as so
I
many
remember
places
that.
were
Yeah.
in the 60s. And they had the Whataburger, the Mama Burger, the baby. No, Whataburger was a separate thing. But they had the Mama Burger,
They
the
might have
Daddy
started
Burger,
out
the Baby
together and
Burger,
branched out. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the root beers and all that. I remember, but we went in our pajamas, my brother and we would go then to the drive-in movie theater in Salisbury
I
and watch
remember.
whatever. And then we were always in our jammies because when we came home, we were, and I would always pretend
Wait
to
for
be
that.
asleep when I
Yeah.
was really little, so Daddy would carry me in. I was such a daddy's girl until I got
Oh,
teenage and mouthy.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. That's the time when your daddy usually, without admitting it, will probably love you even more. But not always, but still. Um, what was I going to say? I remember in Rochester, Minnesota, we would walk as a class of like 20, 25 students. We would walk like 4 blocks to the Dairy Queen and
ooh.
then walk back. It was like a field
Did your
trip.
Dairy Queen have burgers and stuff? See, ours only had the ice cream.
At that time, I think it was still just ice cream.
We have one now in
If they
Salisbury. It's been in
had
the same place for ages. And I don't think it
burgers
ever
at that
closed up.
time, it wasn't really our concern because we were like second graders and we only wanted ice cream.
Right.
Um,
And we
I
had Rowan
remember
Dairy. That was a big ice cream place in Salisbury.
when I was in Indiana, there was a Dairy Queen that was like very. It was like a half a block away from the graduate dorm, so of course it was very very popular. And I remember that's when I became um, accustomed to, what do they call it, the flurry or McFlurry or where
McFlurry is, yeah,
that's
McDonald's.
McDonald's, yeah, but it had like cookies or whatever
Blizzard, the
else and
Blizzard's at DQ,
oh, okay,
but it's like that real thick, like McFlurry.
yeah, and oh my god, that was good. And I also, when I was in Indiana, I mean, even though overall my memories of Indiana are completely miserable, there were some good times in Indiana, and most of them have to do with food.
Imagine that.
Yeah, but my history, imagine that. Yeah. Um, there was a croissant shop, and that was where I
Mm,
learned to appreciate a steamed croissant with butter,
yummy.
with real butter, high
Real butter.
quality butter. Oh
There
my
is no
god.
margarine in this house. Never has been.
I'm not a big fan of margarine.
No, that stuff
No.
is awful.
But yeah, and then there was another place, and then I also worked at a convenience store while I was there in Indiana, and I made um, donuts. And it was all frozen stuff that I would like thaw and then fry up and everything.
Right.
It was all timing and it was all scheduled on the midnight shift. And in the end, looking back on it, it was sort of fun.
I bet you met some interesting characters on the
That I
graveyard
did.
shift.
That I did. Um, anyway, back to yarn. At that time, I was not into yarn.
You know, I'm into Noro. I love some Crystal. It's her fault. Well, I had some before then, but when she started talking about it, I started getting some. I've just done a little chain here, but I love some Noro. And there's lots of different kinds of Noros. There's different makeups. Like this one's got, wow, 35%. I can't even see what that is. Viscose, 35 cotton, only 10 wool, and 20 silk. And then there's some that only have wool or 100% wool. All different colors.
I bought some Noro, but I
And
was
I got some
still.
knockoffs. I just got these out of the mailbox today.
Oh,
Knockoff tulips.
nice.
Tulips, they have the black edamos, they have the pink edamos, and they have the red ones. And they're so costly. And I thought these look just like them. I'll bet they'll crochet just like them too.
Well, yeah. I need more hooks like I need more
Me
yarn.
too. I collect
Although,
hooks and needles and yarn.
I did just add to my Amazon wish list a complete set of Afghan or Tunisian hooks with cords because I don't have a complete set of Tunisian
That's
hooks.
another.
And I've just learned that Tunisian is not nearly as awful as I thought it was. And I have a pattern that is ready to release this week, I hope, that features Tunisian. And I think it's a pretty exciting design.
That's great.
Um,
I
so
even have
anyway,
some of those and a set of those, and I don't know how to do it yet. But I'm ready.
yeah,
I'm ready whenever.
I resisted Tunisian. I would try it and think, gosh, this is hard. I'm
Oh,
giving this up.
and
Or I would try it and I would say, gosh, I can't do this right, and I would give it up. And then I don't know why I would keep trying it, but
that
I
guy we
did.
were talking about the other day, and I said it was called the Crochet Channel, and it is called, I
I
think
found
it's
him
called That
actually.
Crochet Life or
I
something like that.
found him and I started looking at his videos
Benjamin
and
Burkall, I think he goes by Benny now.
yeah.
It's
So
all in his
yeah, I did find that channel. So I've been
I-
looking at his
Don't you like
videos.
him? I just like to listen to him. He's got a great voice
Hmm.
and presentation.
So yeah, and I'm always open to new ideas for people to have these conversations with. Um, that's a subtle hint for people who are listening to us right now.
Yeah, and I really think he would do an interview with you. Like I say, I'm pretty sure the yarn hookers had him on. I'm almost
I would
positive.
like that very much.
Yeah,
I've been trying to get um, um, Kim and Ginger as affordably geeky
yeah,
on,
yeah.
but trying to get them both at the same time is like trying to herd cats.
Well, maybe you'll have to do them separately. Interview 'em.
Well,
So,
that might just happen.
yeah,
And
might
let's
be
see.
better anyway.
I've been approaching people because I really do enjoy doing these interviews. I think they're
It's a
fun.
great idea.
And people tell me that I do them well. So I think that's good. I mean, I used to do it in a business
You put
format.
people at ease. I feel very. At first, I was kind of not when because I've done some. Uh, I've been with some other folks that interviewed me, and I was a little bit hesitant at first, and then it was just fine. It's just like talking like we are now, but I feel even more
Well,
at home with you. I guess because we have a little history and we have met, and
well,
we do
that's what.
know each other on the through the lives and such.
Yeah, and that's what I want to do. And the best ones that I have are the ones where that feeling comes across, whether we've met in person or not.
Hmm.
In fact, I was texting with someone who is in California, whom I have never met in person, but I've done the interview and instantly felt at ease with him. And
Yeah.
so I was texting with him about doing a follow up um, with him, and I would love to see that happen because
Hmm.
um, not only does he do great work um, with yarn, but he also does great work in terms of yarn as a medium for healing,
Hmm.
which I think is extremely
Oh
valuable.
yeah. I think most of us maybe even started with that in mind. At, even when I was a kid, though, my grandmother said I would always do some kind of needlework. I did learn to knit when I was 9 in 4-H group.
Hmm.
Um, And if you can believe this, we had a yarn shop in the wee town of Faith.
Back then,
Yeah,
I can believe it.
yeah. And the house is still there, and she had her little shop next to, like, a, not sure if they were connected or not, but anyways, right next to the house. And I still have the book I bought and learned with, and I had the needles until not so, probably when I'm, with the divorce and stuff. But I just, didn't keep it up. But my grandmother said, and my dad, like, well, grandmother said, you got an old soul. Daddy said I had a restless soul. But I could never just sit and watch TV. When I got on, I guess I did as a little kid, but I'd have to have something, and I did cross stitch a lot. Counted cross or crewel. I did crewel first, crewel embroidery,
I
and then
learned
counted
both of
cross.
those as a kid.
Mm-hmm. The little kits you'd
And
get.
my sister still does the counted cross stitch.
I remember doing one that was just a little graph, and it said, "I'm not a well woman," and was an old timey woman in a bonnet at the well. And I did several of that. One for my grandmother, one for all my aunts, and they loved it. So we ain't none of us right. So I'm not a well woman.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's yeah, these things pass down.
Yeah.
And
Grandmother
let's see.
crocheted. She never knitted. And she sewed like nobody's business. She had 4 daughters. And her husband was an alcoholic, and he worked at the quarry, and he died at 42 from a massive heart attack. He was a big, 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 big man, from what I understand. And yeah, so even when he was alive, she basically was raising the girls, and he was just kind of doing his thing. But she clothed those girls on a dime. She Back then they had feeds. They had printed material on the feed sacks. So she made, because a lot of people made clothing out of those. And, she was always getting compliments on the girls. She said they always looked like they stepped out of a bandbox. And
Yeah, my mother used to tell stories about that sort of thing,
and grandmother
and
worked at Cannon Mills. And
and
then she would do hair. She was always fixing up the house in whatever house they lived in, probably rented, or mill houses. I remember a mill house when I was a young kid. She stayed busy.
my yeah,
Lived
my
to be almost 92.
oh, excellent, excellent. Yeah, both grandmothers both knitted and crocheted. My maternal grandmother, she, I think, when in the Depression, when my mother was a kid, my grandmother was like working in some sewing place. Um, and then my mother herself, when she actually uh, married her first husband very young and then came back home after realizing her mistake
Yeah.
and um, um, wound up working in, I think it was called the Blue Jean Factory or something in Whiteville.
Mm-hmm.
So, she could knit and crochet and sew like the Dickens. Um, Sewing, the funny thing is, at the time and place where I was in junior high school, what they now call middle school, um, boys and girls both took home ec and industrial arts. So I did
Mm-hmm.
learn to sew. I've
They
just
called it
never.
family living by the time I was and I graduated in 77 from East Rowan.
Mm.
East Rowan Mustangs. But I remember we had to sew one shirt, and I remember the print of that shirt. It was cool. I'd wear it now if I could, if I knew where it was, if I could fit in it. But it was a hooded shirt with a little kangaroo pocket in the front. But I remember the teacher having to help me a whole lot.
I remember in 8th grade home ec, the project that I chose, we had like several choices. I chose a jacket. I did not measure the pattern against myself, so the sleeve was a little short, and so I wound up having to insert some other fabric, and I didn't get the exact shade right.
Mm-hmm.
So even though, aside from that sleeve flaw, the execution was really pretty darn good. I got a C on that project. I was not well pleased, and
Yeah,
it's probably not a coincidence that I haven't picked up sewing since.
yeah. I have a sewing machine here that I inherited from my mother's second cousin. They were really no, my mother's first cousin. They were really close growing up. And after she passed away, her daughter asked me, well, she was asking different ones, and she had siblings, and none of them wanted it. And I guess I'm thinking it's probably either a 60s or 70s model. It's one of those in the cabinet. And it works fine. I've only sewn, somebody asked me to sew some feed sacks. She had some feed sacks, and her daughter was going to make pillows out of them, some old ones. So I
I
just
think
had to sew straight seams. It worked fine, but I've been trying to give it to somebody, my daughters or somebody.
I think we've still got the one that my mother had, which I think she got in the 70s.
And
It
it
was
was
in a
the one
cabinet.
I had was well used. The lady really, she had two daughters and a son, and she sewed a
Mhm.
lot of their clothes, well, especially the girl.
Back in the day, my mother did sew a lot. Um,
And my
you
mama
know,
tried, and it was pitiful, the dress I had to wear. Well, I didn't have to, I don't guess, but I don't want to hurt her feelings.
actually,
You remember that.
she made pretty nice clothing for herself and for my sister.
Hmm.
I don't think at that time there were that many patterns for
And,
young men's clothes.
hmm
So
Lordy, I remember going to the fabric shop with mom or my aunts or my grandmother, and those big old cabinets just full of macaws and all the different patterns. Those big old drawers they
oh
put
my
out, just
gosh,
going through those.
I'm having a flashback. What was the name of that factory outlet in? Was it in Concord or Kannapolis? Uh,
Not sure.
is it called Rollaine's? Something like that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There was a Rolaine's.
Oh my gosh! And I got some clothes to go off to college with. Um, there, not bad things really, with some she labels, but
Yeah.
it was all you know factory seconds. But who cared at that budget level?
Right.
Oh my gosh! Oh,
We get
oh,
on about an hour, huh? I didn't ask you how long, but I've got the hour bladder.
oh, there you go.
And
Well,
also my feet.
I didn't ask you if you had any time constraints either. I mean, if it's time to go, it's time to go.
I can
Um,
do another 7 minutes.
so yeah, gosh, oh, the memories that are coming back. But yeah, oh,
And we used to drag town as kids. I don't know whether that was a thing for y'all, but dragging town, dragging Salisbury meant you go up the main street, back down and everybody had their nice car.
oh, in Monroe, that happened at the
19
Roses
I had a
parking lot.
1968 Dodge Charger, and
Mm,
well, not
you
till
or
that
something
wasn't
then.
until later though, but in high school I had my very first car was a 1962 Cadillac. It was like the
Oh,
Batmobile. It was white
oh my
with
gosh.
red interior, and it had the little dimmer switch on the thing. It looked like a little gun.
What would a 62 Cadillac be worth today?
And the steering wheel, I was not a well, I was about 5'7", so I guess that was average height, but it seemed like that steering like I was like this.
Hmm. Yeah, in Monroe, that happened at the Roses parking lot, the strip
Oh,
mall where Roses was. Do you know there's still a Roses? There's a Roses here in Wilmington.
there's one in Kannapolis, right near where we
Wow,
were.
I thought they had died out, but anyway,
I thought
yeah,
so.
where you would go back and forth and back and forth. I never did that as a
That
as a
was
high school
Main
kid
Street,
because
Salisbury, and the turnaround was Zesto's, which was a little ice cream place. And people
did
would
you
park there
know?
and hang out. And then at the other end, nobody hung out. And you just turned around. But
Did
you'd,
you?
meet up with guys. The girls would meet up with guys. Guys would meet up with girls and hop in their car and drive.
Let's see. I'm trying to
Thing
think
to
what
do.
else was in that strip mall. I know the Roses was there. Collins was a department store. Did you have one of
Remember
those?
that one?
And there might have been what we
But
called a food town then. Now we call it a food lion.
Food Town makes a whole lot more sense than when they merged with Belgium, and I know that was their symbol or whatever. But Food Lion, what the heck?
Uh, and then there was a Family Dollar, and there was something else. Anyway, yeah, all of that in that big strip mall. That was a big thing in Monroe then. But in Main Street, downtown Monroe, did you know that the very first Belk store was in Monroe?
No,
Apparently it
the very
was.
first in the U.S.
Apparently so.
Wow,
Um, so I think that in the days of old, long before we were teenagers, that would have been the strip in Main Street, Monroe, that would have gone past the Belk store. And I don't remember anything else that was in downtown Monroe. They had that big municipal building um, that they called the courthouse at one end of the street, and it was already there when we came when we moved to Monroe. Um, but that was where the very first Belk store was, and
I
now,
remember our Belks in Salisbury, and when we would go shopping, it wasn't at a strip mall; it was downtown Salisbury and all the independent shops. So we had a Belks. Then at the other end, a J.C. Penney with 2 levels. Belks had 2 levels. Um, I remember the head shop was called Giz Gaz, like zigzag backwards. I frequented that
mm,
shop for my 40-inch bell bottoms, the low waisted. It had a zipper, David, like that. It's like, what is the point? It was so low cut, and those 40-inch bell bottoms, which we wore so long that they just rotted off the hems, and your parents would go crazy about those jeans, but they were my favorite.
it's funny. I have a very strong memory when I was a young kid, probably 7 or 8 or 9 or something, and I was with my mom. looking at the boys' wear at JCPenney in Rochester, Minnesota, and I pointed out a shirt that I thought was cool. Not that I knew what
Have a nice
cool was.
day.
Hmm. No, and my mom said to me, "I am not going to buy you a $4 shirt."
Oh, wow.
Because that was a lot back then when you
Yeah.
were on a budget. It was probably 1970.
Yeah.
So I
In
am
that head shop,
not
I would buy, they had the perfumes in these little square like bottles, colored bottles, and I wore wild cherry. And I have people still, I ran into a gal that was a few years younger than me, but she said, I will never forget you on the school bus. You smelled so good. I said, I reeked of that wild cherry.
Mm, gosh.
Ah,
I know I was so out of it and so naive in those years. I would not have known what a head shop was.
yeah, they had the bongs and all the stuff in the cases.
Surely they were there in Monroe as well,
Oh yeah.
but I didn't know.
And the spoon, we'd buy a spoon necklace. We didn't do cocaine, but we just thought it was cool.
Oh, and
That was
those
another thing. I have done that when I was partying, and it was just there at the party. And I thought, people spend money on this because it did absolutely nothing to me. But maybe you have to have a few doses for kicks. Granny tells all.
exactly. You know what? Yeah. No.
People know about my wild
Alcohol is
youth.
cheaper and works faster and better. So,
Yeah.
but um,
Back
and
to
I'm
yarn.
sure. Yeah, exactly. Um,
Well, it's 5:01 actually. So, is
okay.
there anything?
Anyway, well,
Any?
no. Usually, I just close up by asking people, what do you want to leave with our viewers? What do you want them to know? What do you want
Well,
them?
I
What do you
would
want
just
to share?
love them to know that I'm Granny D of Knit, Pearl, and Squirrel With, and I'm live at 5 Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays for an hour. That's all I do, an hour. But I'm on 5 days a week. So Saturday and Sunday, I'm on 2 hours earlier. And I did that for our friends across the pond. So it would be a little bit earlier for them. So that's my schedule. And I used to do a lot of videos. I need to do more. But with these bad
Well,
feet, till I get my bad feet fixed up, I used to do a lot of, sitting at the table making stitch markers or doing this or doing different things. And I really need to get back to that. But we got
I
to
think
heal
that
these feet up.
should is a bad word. So you should stop shooting all over yourself. Um, but
It's
yeah,
been great,
exactly.
David. I've enjoyed it. And we will have
And
to
so have
talk
I.
so
And
we
thank
can
you
meet up
so
again.
much. And yes, we will talk. I think that will
The
happen.
tea shop in
And
Salisbury and
yeah,
or eating at the Mexican restaurant in
and yeah, whatever it
Apple.
is, just meeting up
Uncle.
will be lovely. And as always, to everyone who's been watching us, thank you for watching. And like,
Yes,
subscribe, comment, share, all the standard YouTube crap,
it's
and
great.
keep coming back. Okay? Bye bye now. Thank you so much, Granny D.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Bye bye.